Imagine for a second that you are an IELTS examiner. Like, try to really put yourself in that room for a minute.
Oh, that sounds exhausting already.
Right. It is 4:00 p.m. on this dreary, rainy Tuesday afternoon. The fluorescent lights are just, humming above you.
Giving you a migraine.
Exactly. And you have been sitting in the exact same uncomfortable plastic chair for, 6 hours. You have already listened to 32 different candidates sit across from you and answer the exact same prompt.
Ah, the classic describe your daily routine question.
Yes. Over and over again. You have heard some variation of, I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to work, I come home, I watch television, I sleep.
Just brutal repetition.
It is. Your brain, as the examiner, is just completely unavoidably numb at this point. You are practically sleepwalking through the grading rubric.
You're not even really listening anymore. You're just waiting for it to end.
Exactly. And then candidate number 33 sits down. You ask the same question, expecting the same robotic answer, but instead of saying, I eat breakfast, this person looks you dead in the eye and says, following a heavy lifting session, my focus shifts to preparing a high-protein meal to fuel my body correctly and hit a 70-kilogram target.
Wow. Okay, I'm awake now.
Right. Suddenly, you are wide awake. The fog lifts. You are leaning forward in your chair because candidate number 33 just proved they don't merely survive in English, right? They command it.
And that is exactly what we're talking about today. It is entirely about breaking the hypnosis of the examiner.
Yes. Today, we are going to show you exactly how to become candidate number 33. Welcome to the deep dive.
So glad to be here for this one.
Whether you are, prepping for a high-stakes corporate meeting or studying desperately for your actual IELTS exam, or even if you are just someone who is insanely curious about how the mechanics of language can actually shape our reality, you have landed in the exact right place.
Because when you are taking a language exam, you really have to remember that you are not just being tested on your grammar and vocabulary.
Right, it's bigger than that.
Much bigger. You are engaging in a psychological interaction. You are fighting against the examiner's cognitive fatigue. And the weapon you use to win that fight is specificity.
Specificity. I love that. And we are analyzing a phenomenal piece of source material today to show you how to do this. It is a transcript from a show called the English Mastery Podcast.
Specifically, episode 42, I believe.
Yeah, episode 42, which bears a title that honestly almost made me skip it entirely. It's just called A Day in the Life.
It is the most deceptively simple title possible. I mean, on the surface, it sounds like the syllabus for a beginner's ESL class from like 1995.
It really does. But our mission today is highly strategic. We are not just going to read a diary entry about someone's random Tuesday.
No, we are going into this source material as tactical extractors.
Exactly. We are pulling out highly practical, immediately actionable advice, specifically tailored for students who are trying to dominate the IELTS exam. Okay, let's unpack this because this source document is hiding an absolute masterclass in language acquisition right inside a story about a completely ordinary daily routine.
And that daily routine prompt is arguably the most notorious trap in language testing.
Why do you call it a trap?
Because it is so familiar. It is incredibly easy to be boring. Knowledge is most valuable when it is applied strategically, right? And what this transcript provides is a strategic blueprint.
A blueprint for not being boring.
Exactly. It demonstrates how to take a topic that usually triggers basic generic vocabulary and transform it into a compelling, high-scoring narrative that is just rich in lexical variety.
So rather than just walking through this transcript chronologically like a table of contents, let's track the actual evolution of a language learner. Let's start with what we'll call the trap of generalization.
I like that. The trap of generalization.
This maps to the morning routine in our source. The source describes this morning meticulously, starting exactly at 6 a.m. And the very first detail we get is that the alarm goes off at 6. And the speaker explicitly mentions there is no hitting the snooze button.
Right away, notice what they didn't say. They didn't say, I am waking up.
Right. The alarm is going off.
Which immediately sets a tone. The subject is establishing idiomatic fluency within the first 5 seconds of the story. They aren't just translating words, they're using natural phrasing.
And from there, the detail gets incredibly granular. Like the immediate focus is hydration, and then they launch into a strength-building program in the gym.
And they don't just say, I exercise to be healthy.
No, they state they are aiming for a specific mathematical target body weight of exactly 70 kilograms.
Which is such a great detail.
And the recovery isn't just resting. The recovery involves heavy lifting, taking creatine, taking zinc, taking a multivitamin, and then preparing a high-protein breakfast to, as we quoted earlier, fuel the body correctly.
If we look at this through the lens of the IELTS grading rubric, there is a specific criterion called lexical resource.
Lexical resource. Okay, break that down for us.
So this accounts for 25% of your total score in both the speaking and writing sections. Lexical resource essentially measures your ability to use a wide range of vocabulary naturally and accurately.
So it's not just knowing big words, it's knowing how to use them.
Exactly. That trap of generalization happens when a student thinks, oh, the examiner just wants to know if I can form a past tense sentence, so I will give them the simplest sentence possible.
Right, like, I woke up and I ate.
Yes, saying I woke up and ate gives the examiner absolutely zero evidence that you possess a deep, robust vocabulary. But naming precise supplements.
Like the creatine and zinc.
Right. Specifying a 70-kilogram target. That does something vital mechanically.
I have to push back here for a second, though, because I look at this morning routine in the text, and honestly, it feels a bit intimidating. I mean, who actually tracks their zinc intake at 6 a.m.? If I'm an IELTS student and my real morning consists of, I don't know, dragging myself out of bed, drinking a cup of instant coffee, and staring at a blank wall for 20 minutes, how am I supposed to fake this level of hyper-specific detail without sounding like I'm just lying to the examiner?
You don't lie. That is a really crucial distinction here. You don't have to invent a fake life as a bodybuilder.
Okay, good, because I definitely don't look like one.
You have to find the high-resolution details of your own reality. The specific supplements don't actually matter. The mechanism of specificity matters.
So it's about proving you have domain-specific vocabulary for your own life.
Precisely. If you sit and drink instant coffee, you don't just say, I drink coffee. You say, I rely on a quick cup of instant dark roast coffee to kickstart my cognitive functions before the day begins. Do you see the difference?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds so much better.
The examiner doesn't care about your actual diet. They care that you possess the lexical tools to describe the minutiae of your unique world.
That makes total sense. It feels
Yes.
exactly like upgrading a television.
Upgrading a television. I like where this is going.
Think about watching a soccer match on an old standard definition box TV from like 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, the heavy ones.
Right. You can see the players, you can see the ball, you generally know what game they are playing, but the faces are completely blurry.
The grass is just a giant green blob.
Exactly. Saying, I wake up and eat is standard definition English. It gets the basic point across, but the picture is blurry. But saying, I am preparing a high-protein meal to fuel my body correctly after a heavy lifting session to hit a 70-kilogram target, that is high definition 4K English.
Yes.
Suddenly, you can see every individual blade of grass on the field. You can read the numbers on the jerseys.
That is the perfect analogy. And the 4K resolution of your language is precisely what elevates a candidate from a band score of 6.0 to a 7.5 or an 8.0.
Because it's clear.
It's clear, and you are proving that you understand connotation, not just literal denotation.
Let's talk about connotation really quick.
So the phrase, fuel the body correctly, is metaphorical, right? You are treating the body like an engine. That implies a deep comfort with how English speakers actually conceptualize their lives, rather than just how a textbook translates individual words.
So if you are listening to this right now, this is your first real takeaway. Audit your own morning. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I want you to look around. What are the 4K details that you are leaving out when you describe your routine?
They are everywhere if you look for them.
Exactly. You aren't just reading the news. Maybe you are scanning the financial headlines to gauge market volatility.
Nice one.
Or you aren't just walking the dog. You are taking my golden retriever for a brisk walk to establish a baseline of morning activity. That mental shift changes your entire posture in an exam.
It establishes absolute competence. When you start your speaking exam with that level of crisp, definitive language, the examiner stops worrying about whether you will understand their next question.
They can just relax.
They can relax and just listen to you. You have taken command of the interaction.
Which is a beautiful way to transition out of the morning, because we've established how to escape the trap of generalization when talking about personal habits. But now, the source text moves us into a completely different lexical field.
Yes, the workday.
Right. We transition from the physical heavy lifting of the gym to the mental heavy lifting of the workday. Let's explore what we'll call the challenge of specialization.
This is a critical pivot. In an exam, you are frequently asked to describe your job, your studies, or your industry. The challenge here is balancing technical jargon with accessible communication.
You want to show the examiner that you can navigate professional spaces in English.
Exactly.
So let's look at the 8:30 a.m. commute and the job described in our source. The subject here is an IT technician. But here is the fascinating twist: they work at a large dairy production facility.
A milk factory, essentially.
Yeah, they describe an environment that is incredibly fast-paced. They are maintaining network infrastructure, troubleshooting hardware, handling complex database administration, and optimizing memory structures and background processes.
It's a very intense list of responsibilities.
And on top of that, they detail their teamwork. They explicitly introduce a colleague named Badu, whom they sit down with to organize shift schedules and map out side projects.
That's a great detail, naming a specific person.
There's a strict 1:00 p.m. lunch to disconnect, and the afternoon is spent writing automation scripts and resolving sudden emergency help desk tickets before finally clocking out at 5:00 p.m.
The lexical density in that single paragraph of the transcript is staggering.
Okay, but again, I want to play devil's advocate for the listener. An IT guy at a dairy facility, this seems incredibly, almost absurdly niche.
It is very specific, yes.
If I am an IELTS candidate and I am, say, a pediatric nurse or a forensic accountant or a university student majoring in comparative literature, why does this highly specific tech and cows example matter to me? How does this help someone who has absolutely nothing to do with databases or dairy?
It is a totally fair question, but we need to look past the what and focus on the how.
Okay, walk me through the how.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the specific industry the dairy plant is entirely irrelevant. What matters is the architecture of the description.
The architecture.
Look at what the subject is doing mechanically. They are pairing a somewhat unexpected location, a milk factory, with incredibly high-level, authoritative professional actions. They are using specialized action verbs.
So it's not about memorizing IT terms, it's about mirroring the structural authority of those terms.
Precisely. The source doesn't say, I fix computers where they make milk.
Which would be the standard definition version.
Right. Instead, it says, maintaining network infrastructure and troubleshooting hardware. If you are that pediatric nurse you mentioned, you do not go into the exam and say, I give medicine to sick children.
Right, because that's blurry.
You upgrade the verbs. You say, I am responsible for administering patient care protocols and continuously monitoring vital signs in a high-stakes pediatric ward.
Oh, that sounds so authoritative. What about the accountant?
If you are the accountant, it is not, I count the company's money. It is, I focus on reconciling quarterly ledgers and optimizing tax liabilities.
Boom. 4K resolution.
The blueprint here is to take whatever your job is, identify the core actions, and apply the most professional dynamic verbs you can find in your industry's glossary.
You are taking ownership of your professional identity in English. And that brings me to a detail I absolutely loved in this source text. Badir.
Yes, Bad.
They specifically named a colleague. Why did they do that? Because I feel like most students just say, I work with my team, or my boss told me to do this. It's always these nameless, faceless entities.
That is exactly why naming Badir is a brilliant strategic move. Let's analyze the psychology of speaking part 2 in the IELTS.
Okay, part 2 is the monologue, right?
Correct. You have to speak for 2 full minutes on a given topic. When candidates speak in sweeping generalizations like, I talk to my colleagues, it is very hard to build a narrative.
It's dry.
It's very dry. But the moment you introduce a specific third party, I usually coordinate with my partner, Badir, to organize the schedules, you instantly transform a sterile job description into a lived human story.
Oh, and mechanically, it forces you to change your grammar, right?
How do you mean?
Well, once Badir is in the story, you aren't just saying I over and over. Now you have to use he, him, we, us. You are organically demonstrating pronoun variety.
Yes, exactly. You're showing the examiner that you can manage multiple subjects within a single narrative without losing grammatical control. Furthermore, it grounds the language in reality. It proves you can use English not just to recite facts, but to populate a world with real relationships.
I want to linger on a couple of specific words from this work section too, words like fast-paced and troubleshooting, because even though they are used here in an IT context, these are incredibly versatile tools, aren't they?
They are high-utility, academic-adjacent terms. Let's take troubleshooting. Many students think this only applies to fixing a broken router or a computer. But fundamentally, troubleshooting means identifying the source of a problem and systematically resolving it.
So you could apply it to anything.
Anything. You can troubleshoot a logistical bottleneck in a supply chain. You can troubleshoot a severe miscommunication within a marketing team. You can even troubleshoot a failing policy in a government.
So if I'm writing an IELTS Task 2 essay about, say, urban traffic congestion, I shouldn't just say the government needs to fix the roads. I could say urban planners must prioritize troubleshooting the infrastructural bottlenecks.
Exactly. You are demonstrating high-level problem-solving vocabulary. And the same applies to fast-paced.
Right. It doesn't just mean quick.
It implies an environment that demands constant adaptation. A fast-paced global economy, a fast-paced emergency room, a fast-paced narrative in a novel. By mastering these versatile, specialized words, you are packing a Swiss Army knife for the exam.